What's going on, YouTube? This is Jim, and today I want to talk to you guys about my most beloved gaming franchise of all time, none other than Gears of War. Now, if you couldn't tell in the background above my TV where my hand is waving right now, I have all the Gears 3 fatheads over my TV. Every time I play a game, every time I watch TV, they're there. Dom, Carmine, yes, I have all the action figures. Anya, Baird, the Coltrane, Marcus, Dom, the crew, the boys, who I played through 3 separate stories, Gears 1, 2, and 3, and loved each and every one of them. I have the Retro Lancer hanging on the wall. I love Gears. So when Gears of War 4 was announced by now the Coalition, back then Black Tusk Studios, headed up by Rod Ferguson, who had a lot to do with the previous Gears games, I was stoked. And even though the beta took a day or two to finally get into, thanks to so many people, I guess, trying to get in or whatever, I don't know, I don't care, I finally got a chance to install it today. I spent about 3 hours playing with it, and I want to give you guys my no-kidding reactions about it. I'm worried. I'm not as excited as I should be. There's a lot of problems with this game. I want to love it. I want it to succeed. I want the crazy collector's edition, whatever it is. I'll rebuy the Xbox One if it's a cool branded Gears laser etched figure. That's the kind of fan that I am. Let's talk about what the game does good, bad, and all right. I know it's a beta before we begin. I know it's a beta. So everyone who goes, oh, Jim, it's a beta, man. Come on, you're beating it up. Well, this is what they gave me to play with. This is my first cut back into the world. This is what we're going to talk about. The pros. It's a Gears game, and it has that old Gears feel. It's got the old archaic-ass control scheme that you really can't change, where your roadie run is configured by your left stick. While you're running, you just hold down A. You can't move with your right stick when you're running. It sucks, but that's the way a Gears game is. Reload is mapped to your front right trigger, whether you like it or not. That's the way a Gears game is. Your weapons are on the D-pad. Now, you can configure tournament mode so that you only hit it in one direction to alternate between your primaries. But if you want to switch out a snub, you're not flipping a button like you do on Halo. No, you're pressing up on the D-pad. Grenades are down on the D-pad. That's the way it is. It's old school. The HUD looks exactly the way every other Gears game has looked. And albeit they did increase the tactical view slightly, it's still the same tactical view that we've been playing way back before Gears, when Gears 1 came out, when Marcus Phoenix was broken out of the jail cell by Dominic, and this whole crazy world began to spin up. So it's got that feel. The roadie run is amazing. When you're running and the camera's swinging and bouncing out of control, it's hard to see what's in front of you. You feel like you're in the trenches. It's a definite risk-reward system. Do you want to get across the map fast at the chance of not really seeing in your peripheral? Good luck, buddy. If you want to take your time and walk really slow, you could do that too, but you might be frag bait. Now, that's cool. They've also added some other really cool things. Do you remember when you were on one side of cover and your enemy was on the other and you were taking pot shots at each other with the Nasher? They got rid of that. Now they've added a grab system. So if you're on one side of the wall opposite of an enemy, you just quickly flick the button and you'll reach over the wall and you'll grab that sucker. And if you manage to grab him, he's stunned long enough to rev up that chainsaw and mow him in half, or put a Nasher in his gut. That's great too. But don't worry, if you're on the other side of the wall and the enemy initiates a grab, you have a chance to counter it and stun him. So there's a little bit of chess game there, but it makes the game faster. If you're in cover and an enemy is hiding behind a wall and you run up to him in a roadie run, there's a button combination you can press. It's only one button, but there's a button combination you can press, and you'll kick the wall, you'll stun him away from the wall, and you can take him out. It makes the game faster. It makes the game more fun. It modernizes what the old boring Gears game was. So you have the best of the old and the best of the new. If you loved Gears, you will love this game. If you hated Gears, you will hate this game. And I'm appreciative they left it the way it was. There are far too many tactical third-person shooters that have the snap-to-cover system, that do everything the way like an Uncharted game does, or how many other countless shooter clones are out there. Gears is its own animal. It's got its own risk reward system, and they made it better, and I love it. They've also added a bounty system. The bounty system is a way to gain additional experience points by betting on yourself. You get these cards. You can play them infinitely. They only are removed from your inventory if you win, so there's no... It's not like a requisition card where like you summon a scorpion and the second you drive out of the freaking hangar, 8 Spartans are there to blow it up. It's not like that. You put down a bounty. If you win whatever the challenge is, usually it's kill so many enemies, win a match, be in the top 3, get 5 kills, whatever. You get a big chunk of experience, which is great and unlocks more stuff. Kumbaya, everybody's happy. If you lose, no big deal. It goes back in your inventory and you can go ahead and play at the next match. And I think that's a cool system. It forces you to vote on the map before you see your stats. I think that's a really cool idea because now you're going to actually get some diversity in map play because people are going to be actively voting instead of it being an afterthought after they've looked at their stats, after they've changed their inventory, after they scratched their balls, whatever. It's right there in your face at the beginning. Bam, you have to select the map if you want to see your stats. And I like that. That's a good system. Dodgeball mode is really cool. It's 5-on-5. When you die, you're dead. However, if you manage to kill an enemy teammate, one of your teammates can revive. That's why it's called dodgeball, I guess. Don't dodge the bullets? I don't know. So, they've done a lot to the game. However, this is where I'm worried. It looks like garbage. Now, Gears games have always looked gritty. That was the idea. We were at war. It wasn't fun. It wasn't pleasant. It wasn't rainbows. It wasn't unicorns and Whimsyshire. It was down in the dirt. Aliens were popping up out of ground. The grubs, the locust horde, was crawling out of the dirt, blowing up Sarah, blowing up different pieces. The city, Jacinta, was sunk. Dirt and grime went everywhere. You're on this old dirty-ass barge. These giant tentacles are coming out of the ground. The water's contaminated. That's the way it's supposed to look. I get it. But gritty doesn't mean ugly, and it looks ugly. Texture pop-in is atrocious. Yes, it's 60 frames a second, but at what cost? What cost does this game have? The pop-ins are ridiculous. The texture pop-ins are so just all of a sudden there's shadows where there wasn't shadows before, and it's distracting. It looks bad, and the maps aren't that big, guys. There's no reason why you're pushing the Xbox that hard. You can't draw the rest of a railing shadow, and I have to walk forward and it pops up. Take a look if you don't believe me. Look at some of the maps and just notice the shadows. Notice the textures on the ground when there's a couple maps where like a flower bed is run over into the gravel. It's just one texture palette. It looks like something out of freaking GoldenEye 64. It's just this flat, ugly, one-color texture. Even the female character, I don't know her name. She has a do-rag on her head. Her arms look like freaking GoldenEye 64. Just these old, blocky, really not so pretty graphics. And it's like, we deserve better. Yes, it's 60 frames a second, but come on, guys. I mean, I think the Ultimate Edition looks better than this, and that scares me. Shouldn't it be the other way around? I don't know. Again, it's a beta, I understand. Let's talk about sound. It's tinny. It's weak. It's no fun. It doesn't sound good. When I shoot my hammer bursts, it should sound throaty. My Gnasher should make my eyeball shake. When a guy gets hit with a torque bow and explodes, I want to feel those gibs plastering my body. I don't get that. It's very tinny. It's very humdrum. And I hope they fix that, and maybe it's just that we're just going to throw something in and we'll worry about it later. I hope for their sake that's what it is, because it feels to me like this beta was just an afterthought. And they're like, oh, yeah, we got to put this beta out. If this is what these guys have been working on since the end of Judgment, we're in trouble, okay? I don't know anything about character models. I don't know anything about weapon skins. I hope there is a trillion, billion, zillion of them. That's what's going to make the game fun. That's what's going to make all those bounty cards mean anything, because right now it's just to grind to 20. If you grind to 20, you get exclusive skins when the full game launches later this year, which is kind of neat, kind of, enticing people to continue to play. But yeah, you're going to have to just remind yourself that this game, even though it looks like it's running on an Xbox One, may in fact be running on a PlayStation 2 or early PlayStation 3, very early Xbox 360 days for sure, maybe even a Dreamcast. And I'm having a hard time getting over that. I really am. And I hope that this is just a really bad build and they uploaded the wrong one and the sound files aren't what they're supposed to be. But this game looks not so great. And that's really what hangs me up, because I'm looking at this game the entire time I'm playing it. I'm listening to these crappy sound effects. Yes, it's Gears. Thank God for that, but man, oh man, it's not so great. Unfortunately, the biggest thing for me, as you guys know, I am in love with my Xbox One Elite controller. It really doesn't serve much of a purpose here because they force you to play on the old method. And yes, I said that was a pro, that it's that old grindy, the front R trigger has to be an active reload. The face buttons aren't really used that much. You have just kind of a couple, and it really doesn't lend itself well to keep your hand on that right thumbstick, because when you're roadie running, which you'll be doing most of the time, you can't look around with the right stick anyway. So Xbox One Elite controller owners like myself are going to be a little disappointed that our big investment isn't really going to pay off in this game. And active reloading, actually, now that I think about it, has changed drastically. When the Gears 3 came out and this was real competitive and it really started to pick up momentum on that game, by my account, the best game in the franchise, arguably one of the greatest games of all time. When you would start, there was always that risk reward of emptying your first clip, emptying a few Nasher shells to get that active reload, to get that damage boost. Well, now you can active reload whenever you want. There's no reason to waste shots anymore. You just have it. Everyone just has active reload. So just know that everybody's going to be walking around with greater damage bolts, because they could sit there and try over and over and over and over without penalty until they get it right. And it doesn't just do the bullets you reload. No, it does the entire clip or all the shells or whatever you have in your arsenal. So if you have a Nasher, you just stand there and hit R1. When the timing's right, you hit R1 again, and boom, you got a whole entire slew of shotgun shells that do more damage. Where's the risk in that? Where's the incentive in that for all the players like me who are active reloading on the field, shooting a few shells just to get that advantage, knowing full well we might not have ammo for the fights deeper in the match, but right now we were going to tear stuff up? Where did that go? I don't like that. Change it. It is a beta. I understand. There are things that can change, but I will tell you guys that myself and Carmine in particular are very, very worried, and I think that we're justified in our concerns. Gears 3 is a freaking institution. For those of us who love it, we are gearheads. We understand it. For those of us who fought the fight across even Judgment, which sucked, and we still played it because it was Gears, goddammit. This game should be for us. This is our entry into the Xbox One. It's been out for so long now. We're finally getting a chance to see our favorite franchise on the big screen. But I will tell you guys, from me, from the fan, the guy who put you guys on the map, the guy who's got the Crimson Omen on the back window of his pickup truck, you gotta make this game look better. You gotta, because if you don't, the fans like me are going to play the single-player story and drop this thing like a bad habit, and it's going to fade back into obscurity, and I don't want that to happen. We want a pretty game. We understand it's grimy, but fix your shit. That's what I got to say about this game. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, Carmine, the grub killer himself, and me, the ultimate Gears fan, will see you guys on the other side.